I've always been a light sleeper. Comes with the territory of being a man who's seen some things, done some things. You don't get to where I am by being careless. So when I felt movement in the bed, my body stirred awake instantly. At first, I thought it was just my wife shifting around. No big deal. But then I heard it. Wet, sloppy sounds. The unmistakable sound of something that should never, never be happening in my bed. I snapped my eyes open, and there she was, my wife, the woman I had built my life around, the woman I had sworn to protect, love, cherish, right there in our bed, between our sheets, in our house, with another man's dick in her mouth. A fire started in my chest, burning through every rational thought I might have had. The mother heater was too into it to notice me, but my wife, she knew. She felt my eyes on her, and in that second her gaze lifted. I saw it in her face, the shock, the terror. I moved without thinking. One second he was sitting up, blinking like an idiot, and the next, I was on him. My fist met his jaw with a sickening crack. He barely had time to yelp before I grabbed him by the hair, yanked him off my wife, and sent my fist into his face again. And again, and again. There was blood, a lot of it. Teeth clattered onto the floor, little white fragments drenched in red. The bastard collapsed like a bag of wet cement, groaning, whimpering. My wife screamed, "Michael, stop! Please stop!" I turned to her, breathing hard. My knuckles ached, and the bed was a mess of tangled sheets, sweat, and another man's filth. She backed away from me, chest heaving, pupils blown wide with fear. "You—" I started, but my voice came out like gravel. I swallowed hard, tasting iron in my throat. "You whore." Her lips parted, like she wanted to argue, like she had any excuse that would make this okay. I took a step toward her. She bolted. She ran out of the bedroom, bare feet slapping against the hardwood floor. I followed. Not out of mercy, not to comfort her. I wanted answers. I wanted revenge. She tore down the hallway, yanking open the door to the basement. The darkness swallowed her whole, her sobs echoing down the stairs. I followed, slow and steady like a predator tracking wounded prey. She couldn't escape, not this time. The basement was silent, eerily silent. I reached the bottom step, heart pounding like a war drum. The only sound was my own breath, and then I saw it. The closet door was open. I stepped forward, hand reaching out. The air was thick, wrong. The kind of silence that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I yanked the door open, and what I saw inside stopped me cold, the past. That led to this hell. Before I tell you what I saw in that closet, I need you to understand something. This wasn't just some woman cheating on me. This was my wife, the woman I built my world around. We met in our early 20s, back when I was still clawing my way up in life. I wasn't some soft, nice guy pushover. I never have been. I was the kind of man who took what he wanted, who didn't beg, didn't grovel. I fought for what I earned, and I protected what was mine. And she was supposed to be mine. Her name was Sarah, and she was the kind of woman who turned heads wherever she went. Blonde, perfect smile, a little on the shorter side, but with curves that could make a priest reconsider his vows. She had this innocent, playful charm when we first met, always laughing, always making me feel like the world wasn't so damn hard. I gave her everything, built a life for us, got my own business running security contracts, real work, not some office job where I sat on my ass all day. We bought a house, had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, Logan and Emma. They were my pride and joy, and no matter how many hours I worked, I always came home to them. Always made sure they had the best life I never had growing up. And Sarah? She was the loving wife, the good mother, the woman who said she'd always be mine until she wasn't. The ultimate betrayal. Finding her in our bed with another man was already enough to make me lose it. But this, what I saw in that closet, it made my rage pale in comparison. When I pulled the door open, expecting her cowering inside, I found something else entirely. There, hanging from the ceiling beam, was a rope, and beneath it, a goddamn suitcase. My suitcase. My packed clothes, my shoes, my fucking gun safe cracked open. And sitting right on top, divorce papers already signed by her. I stood there, frozen, my brain trying to make sense of what I was seeing. She wasn't just cheating, she was planning to leave me and take everything. I picked up the papers, flipping through them, my pulse hammering. The house, her and the kids, full custody, child support, more than half of what I make. Then my eyes landed on the worst part. I was being accused of domestic violence. My breath left my lungs like I'd been sucker punched. Sarah had written a statement, said I was unstable, dangerous, prone to fits of rage, that the kids were afraid of me, that she was leaving for their safety. All lies, all carefully planned bulls. It was a goddamn setup. This wasn't just cheating. She was trying to destroy me. You weren't supposed to see that. Her voice trembled from behind me. I turned, my entire body vibrating with fury. Sarah stood there in the dim basement light, her face streaked with tears, her arms wrapped around herself like she was the goddamn victim. You. My voice was low, dangerous. You were gonna frame me? She swallowed hard, looking down. It's not like that. I grabbed her by the wrist and slammed the divorce papers against her chest. Not like that? Then what the fuck is it like, Sarah? She flinched, looking up at me with wide, terrified eyes. You're scaring me, she whispered. And that's when it hit me. This was the plan all along. Get me angry, make me lash out, get a real reason to call the cops, to have me thrown in jail, to take my kids away for good. She knew me too well, knew I was the kind of man who fought back. She thought she could trap me, but she forgot one thing. I'm not the type of man who loses. The fight that broke everything, I released her, breathing hard, my hands itching to put a hole through the wall. How long, Sarah? I demanded. She hesitated. How fucking long? Her lip quivered. A few months. I clenched my jaw. A few months? A few months? How many times had I kissed her, held her, told her I loved her, all while she was setting me up? Rage flooded my vision again, and then, thud. A body hit me from behind, tackling me hard. The bastard from my bed had found his footing. You motherfucker, he grunted, trying to wrestle me to the ground. Big mistake. I threw an elbow straight into his ribs. Crack. Felt the wind rush out of him. He stumbled, gasping, and I turned, grabbing him by the throat, slamming him against the basement wall. His eyes bulged, hands clawing at mine. You want to fuck my wife? I growled. You want to set me up? I drove my knee into his gut and he collapsed, coughing blood. Sarah screamed, Michael, stop, you're gonna kill him? I stepped back, flexing my fingers, breathing heavy. The man on the floor groaned, curling into himself like the pathetic sack of so-wheeze he was. Sarah rushed forward, dropping to her knees beside him. Baby, oh my God, baby, are you okay? Baby, she called him baby. I stood there, fists clenched, staring down at the woman I once loved, the woman who was ready to ruin me, the mother of my children who was going to take everything I built, take my kids, my money, my reputation. I shook my head. I wasn't going out like this. She wanted me to lose control. She wanted me to hit her, to make it real. But I wasn't going to give her that. Instead, I walked past them, up the stairs, back to the bedroom where my entire life had fallen apart just an hour ago. I grabbed my phone, snapped one last photo of that piece of psychody on the floor, and sent it straight to my lawyer. Then I packed a bag. Sarah ran up after me, frantic. Michael, where are you going? I didn't answer. She grabbed my arm. Michael, please, don't leave. I turned, looking her dead in the eyes. You made your choice, Sarah. And then I walked out the door. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I drove, I don't know how long, hours, maybe. The road stretched in front of me, headlights cutting through the darkness, but my mind was still stuck in that basement, stuck on the sight of my own wife cradling the man she had just fucked in our bed. I kept hearing her voice. Baby, are you okay? Not me, not her husband. Him. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. I should have put him in the goddamn hospital, maybe worse. But no, that's what Sarah wanted, wasn't it? A reason to lock me up, take the kids, make sure I never saw them again. I had to be smart about this. Patient. She thought she had me beat, but she had no idea who she was dealing with. Sarah's dirty secret. After driving aimlessly for God knows how long, I pulled into a 24-hour diner, grabbed a coffee, and did what any man in my position would do. I started digging. I had resources. I wasn't just some blue-collar stiff working 9 to 5. I ran security contracts for high-end clients. That meant I had access to people who could find anything. So I made some calls. And by the time the sun started creeping over the horizon, I had what I needed. Sarah wasn't just leaving me for some random guy. She was leaving me for a con artist. His real name? Derek Shaw. 35 years old, 6 years younger than me. No steady job, no real assets. Just a trail of scammed women stretching back a decade. He wasn't just some guy Sarah fell for. He was a professional homewrecker. This was his game. Find married women, seduce them, get them to divorce their husbands, and then bleed them dry. And Sarah? She was his next victim, but she didn't know it yet. I took another sip of my coffee, a slow grin spreading across my face. She thought she played me, but she was the one getting played, and I was about to burn her whole world down. The setup first, I needed proof, so I made another call to a guy named Leo. Leo was an ex-cop who now worked as a private investigator, the best in the business. I gave him Derek's name, told him to dig deep. Bank accounts, arrest records, surveillance. I wanted everything. And then I waited, baiting the trap. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I checked into a cheap motel, laid low, and let Sarah stew. She called twice. I ignored it. Then, just as I predicted, she texted. Sarah, we need to talk. Sarah, please, Michael, just come home. Sarah, you're scaring me. Scaring her? Oh, sweetheart, you have no idea what fear is yet. I let her sweat for another day. Then I answered. Me, sure, let's talk. Tonight, 8 p.m. She agreed instantly, probably thought I was coming home to apologize, to beg, to fall into her trap. She had no idea that she was walking into mine. The night everything burned. I got there a little early, parking down the street. The house was dark except for the faint glow from the living room window. She was waiting for me. Good. I walked up the driveway, heart pounding, knowing this was the last time I'd step foot in the house I built with her. When I opened the door, she was standing there in the dim light. She looked like hell. Messy hair, dark circles under her eyes, but she still had the gall to try and look vulnerable. Michael, she breathed, like she was relieved to see me. I didn't say a word, just stepped inside, letting the door click shut behind me. Where have you been? She asked, voice shaking just enough to sound believable. I was worried about you. I let out a short laugh. Oh, were you? She bit her lip like she was trying to hold back tears. Look, I made a mistake. I tilted my head, watching her. Yeah? Which part? The fucking, the lying, or the part where you tried to ruin my life? Her face crumpled, but I wasn't buying the act. Not anymore. Michael, please, she whispered. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. Tell me, Sarah, I said. How was it supposed to happen? She swallowed hard. I don't know. Liar, I said softly. And then I pulled out my phone and hit play. Her eyes went wide as Derek's voice filled the room. Babe, once the divorce is final, we'll sell the house. Cash out as much as we can before your idiot husband fights it. Then we move south, get a fresh start. You'll never have to work again, I promise. Sarah turned white. I smiled. Got this off a wire Leo put on your little boyfriend. She opened her mouth, closed it, then burst into tears. But I wasn't done. I pulled a folder from my jacket, tossed it onto the table. That, I said, is every bank account, every alias, and every woman he's done this to before you. He's got nothing, Sarah. No money, no job. Just a history of leeching off dumb, gullible women until they're dry. She shook her head. No, he loves me, Michael. He loves me. He's using you, you dumb bah! I snapped, just like you tried to use me. She broke then, sank to the floor, sobbing into her hands. I leaned down, my voice a razor against her ear. Here's what's gonna happen, I said. You're gonna sign over everything, the house, the cars, full custody of our kids. You're gonna take your lying, cheating ass and disappear, or... I let the silence hang. She sniffled, looking up at me with red, puffy eyes. Or what? I smirked. Or I send this folder to every lawyer in town, every woman Derek ever conned, every cop who's been looking for him, and when they're done tearing him apart, you'll be next. Her lips trembled. She knew I wasn't bluffing, because I never bluff. The aftermath. The next morning, Sarah signed everything over. I kept the house, the kids, every damn thing I built. And Sarah? She packed a bag and ran. Probably straight to Derek, but that wasn't my problem anymore. Because by that afternoon, Leo had sent everything to the police, and by the end of the week, Derek Shaw was arrested for fraud, theft, and multiple outstanding warrants. And Sarah? She was left with nothing. No money, no house, no family. Just karma coming back to bite her in the ass. And me? I walked away, with my head held high, because in the end, I won. I sat in my car outside the courthouse, watching through the windshield as Sarah walked out, alone, her face pale, her hands shaking as she clutched a manila envelope to her chest. Divorce finalized. She had lost everything. I should have felt satisfied, should have felt that deep, primal victory in knowing she'd reaped exactly what she sowed. But I wasn't done, because what Sarah didn't know, what she couldn't have possibly predicted, was that this was just the beginning. She had tried to destroy me. She had tried to take my children, my home, my entire life, all for a man who never gave a damn about her, a man who was rotting in a jail cell right now, probably realizing for the first time that his little con had backfired. And I wasn't just walking away with my house, my kids, and my dignity. I was walking away with her future, too. The secret I had been keeping while Sarah was busy playing house with her conman lover, I had been preparing for war. I had called in favors, I had set traps, I had made sure that when this was over she would have nowhere to run. Her name, ruined. Her finances, destroyed. She thought she would walk away from this with some sympathy, some pity, maybe even a new beginning. But I made damn sure that every bridge she thought she could cross had already burned to the ground before she even got there. How I took everything I watched as she pulled out her phone, hands shaking as she tried to make a call, probably to her parents, the only safety net she had left. I already knew what would happen, because I had spoken to them first. They were horrified when they found out what she had done. When they saw the pictures, the texts, the evidence, they had disowned her, cut her off. She had nothing now. I leaned back in my seat, taking a slow sip of my coffee as she paced back and forth on the sidewalk, panicking, finally realizing, that she had effed up beyond repair. And just when I thought I had seen enough, my phone vibrated. A message. From her. Sarah. Please, Michael, I need to talk to you. I made a mistake. I have nowhere to go. I have nothing. I don't know what to do. Please. I stared at the message for a long time. Then, finally, I typed out my reply. Me. You should have thought about that before you fucked another man in my bed. And then I blocked her. One last twist of the knife. Sarah thought she had played me. She thought she had outsmarted me. But in the end, she was nothing more than a pawn in her own game. Because while she sat there crying on a cold courthouse bench, homeless, penniless, and utterly alone, I was driving home, to my kids, to my life, to the victory she never saw coming. And the best part, she knew she had lost. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. Sarah thought this was over. She thought the worst had already happened. that I had taken the house, the kids, the money, and that now she could crawl away into some hole and lick her wounds. She was wrong, because I wasn't just going to win. I was going to make sure she never forgot the price of betrayal. The last nail in her coffin. Sarah had no job, no home, no money, but she still had one thing, her reputation, and I was about to take that too. While she was sitting in that courthouse parking lot sobbing into her hands, I was on my way to meet with a reporter, a guy I knew from my security contracts, someone who specialized in exposing frauds, cons, and homewreckers. I handed him everything, the texts, the photos, the evidence of her affair, of Derek's history as a professional scam artist. "Make it public," I said, sliding the folder across the table. "Make sure everyone knows exactly who they are." He raised an eyebrow. "You sure about this?" I smirked. "Oh, I'm fucking sure." A week later, it was everywhere. Local news, social media, even a few national outlets picked it up. Prominent mother leaves husband for serial con man, loses everything in brutal divorce. Her name was ruined. She lost her job offers. She lost friends. Even her own family wanted nothing to do with her after the article dropped. She was a pariah. And then the final blow came. My kids chose me. A month after the divorce was finalized, she tried to reach out, tried to see the kids. Logan, my son, refused. He wanted nothing to do with her. Emma, my little girl, broke down in tears when she heard her mother's voice on the phone. She asked me in the smallest, most fragile voice, "Why did Mommy do this?" And I had to hold back every ounce of rage I still had left. I kneeled in front of her, looking into those big, innocent eyes, and said, "Because she made a mistake, sweetheart. A very, very big mistake." Sarah sent email after email, begging, pleading. She didn't care about me anymore. She knew she had lost that war. But the kids, she still thought she could win them back. Until I sent one last reply. "Me. The kids don't want to see you. This is what you chose, Sarah. Live with it." And that was the last time I ever heard from her. Where she is now. A friend of mine spotted her a few months later. She was waiting tables at some rundown diner on the edge of town, living in a tiny one-bedroom apartment. No car, no future, no Derek. Turns out once she had nothing left to offer, her little conman boyfriend dumped her too. She lost everything. And me? I rebuilt. I thrived. I found peace in knowing that I didn't just walk away. I walked away with my head held high, with my kids beside me, and with a future that was finally my own. And Sarah? She was left exactly where she deserved to be, alone, forgotten, and regretting every choice she ever made.